In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hope everybody had a great weekend, sweating out the action out there at Augusta National on Sunday as we welcome you in to this post-Masters Monday edition of Money Moves. Try to say that 10 times fast. It's a lot of alliteration.
Post-Monday edition of Money Moves, posted, I don't know.
All right. Sorry about it, Tony. Jonathan Tobel with you as we welcome you into the program. A jam-packed 2 hours ahead, not only in reaction to everything out there on the golf course, but of course the NBA, NHL, so much. How was your weekend?
Can't complain. It was actually pretty good. The Masters is fantastic. A lot of baseball. NBA ended, so we got the regular season in the rearview mirror. Play-ins, of course, start tomorrow. So very, very excited for what is to come. And I was telling Mitch this last week, but I mean, we're entering a portion of the calendar where it never really quiets down. You would think post-March Madness, oh, man, we're just getting into debate. Nope. This is going to be great. And we have the last few days of the NHL regular season. Coming up, I think I have a hot take, and call me crazy, that I would like to throw at you. I need to think it through here a little bit. But if I'm right, it's a 6-1 shot. So let's see.
Cool. Excited for that. Also, just speaking of never really having a dead time in the calendar, we've also got the NFL draft coming up in less than 2 weeks as well. And I know throughout the course of the week, we'll do a little bit of a deep dive into some of the markets that are available there. But let's set the table with everything else that is to come today. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
Well, you mentioned, JVT, the NHL regular season winding down. It will come to a close on Thursday with round one beginning Saturday. And with that, a ton up for grabs in these last 4 days and a card today that's got big implications all over the place. Just looking through the board right now, Flyers home tonight can clinch a playoff berth and a first-round series, lock that in with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Carolina resting a lot of people, but they could still secure the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Sabres can clinch the division title tonight. Pacific Division pillow fight still going on, so we have so much that we can get to a little bit later.
You know, one matchup, though, took a little bit of a hit over the weekend, as the Detroit Red Wings lost to the New Jersey Devils and got eliminated from postseason contention. Got that one home. Still, Tampa Bay can win the division, right? So they're still up for that. But I'm looking forward to this card. It is meaty. There's a lot to it. And, you know, the periphery of the wild card race in the Western Conference as well, Nashville, San Jose. There's a lot to get to. So I'm looking forward to watching some hockey tonight. Yeah,
the Kings are in an interesting position, currently in that second spot in the wild card, but they could either be eliminated from the postseason or win the Pacific Division in these last 3 games. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Minus 600, by the way, now to be in the postseason field. But you said it as well. Let the NBA playoff action almost begin. We got the play-ins getting underway tomorrow, but so much to get to in the association with the field officially set and knowing a lot more matchups than we did before. We will also have Mitch Lawrence of SiriusXM NBA Radio in 30 minutes to get some of his early projections.
Yeah, and a lot of injury news, specifically in the Western Conference, is what's going to happen with not only the players for the Los Angeles Lakers, but we have some injury news, some minutes news about some of the players in the play-in round as well in the Western Conference and how that's going to shape some of these matchups. So we'll see, but it looks like it's going to be a good play-in. We have a lot of evenly matched teams. There shouldn't be any blowouts. These should be teams that are going to fight tooth and nail. And a team that we think that we're very high on, but this is it. Our Hornets cannot get out. Yeah. And now we got a big matchup against the Miami Heat that I'm a little nervous about.
I'm curious, too, your opinion when we get to it on what some teams did over the weekend that put them in the positions they are now. I'm looking at you, Atlanta Hawks. Seems a little bit interesting.
San Antonio?
But yeah, 100%. We will kick things off here, though, talking Masters and a Rory repeat. He puts on the green jacket yesterday for the second year in a row, just the 4th player in the history of the event to do so, joining the likes of Nick Faldo, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, the first to do it now since Tiger back in 2002. Not that we could see the final putt or the final approach shot either, unfortunately, but we talked about it a lot last week, JVT. Rory gets the monkey off of his back last year. He secures the Grand Slam. Had a little bit of an ease to his game the first 2 rounds. Granted, it was in jeopardy the last 2 days as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought Rory played extremely well. Obviously shoots a 71 on Sunday. Enough to get it done for himself. But I thought yesterday was as much about Rory as it was about the guys around him.
Sure.
Somewhat collapsing and not taking the opportunities that were in front of them to go and get it done, whether it's missed putts from guys like Cameron Young, Scotty Scheffler just parring almost every single hole. And then I mentioned to you the missed putt on 17 that would have put him at 12 under potentially. Justin Rose completely falling apart at times. Rory deserves a ton of credit. He played well enough in that round 2 on Friday that obviously put him in this position to hold everybody off. But this was a lot about Rory, and this was a lot about the guys behind him not taking the opportunities to go and get it done on Sunday.
Well, I know you ended up firing on a Scotty Scheffler bet on Saturday, 17-1. I had Justin Rose in pocket as well for the tournament to win. Did still end up getting him in the top 10, so at least made a little bit of our money back from that standpoint. But for Rose specifically, I know in my mind, the way that he was surging on the front 9, I thought maybe this could be a Jordan Spieth 2015 type of a situation that actually took the green jacket away from Justin Rose in the past. I thought he could potentially surge forward, and then Amen Corner happens, and everything fell apart from him from there.
This dude's got to get one at one point,
right?
When
he's
so
45
bad.
now, too. He's not getting any younger. It's brutal.
Yeah, what's the headline for the piece I was reading earlier today? It was spirited effort. Rose authors another spirited chapter in perpetual green jacket pursuit. I mean, it was nuts.
The 3-foot putt for par he missed.
That to me is one of the big moments. I think I texted you, or you and I were texting a little bit about it. There was an errant tee shot at one point, and I think a little bit later there was the missed putt there from Rose as well, where you have every opportunity, man. This is it. This is where the money is made, and you just can't get it done. It did feel, and I texted you jokingly, but it did. It felt like maybe the pressure got to him, that he just wasn't really ready, because that is part of the narrative with him, and he knows that. And then you see this stretch when you're talking about the back-to-back bogeys on 11 and 12, drops another one on 17. I mean, the second 9 was an absolute nightmare for him.
Meanwhile, Scotty as well shoots bogey-free golf for the final 39 holes of the Masters. Gets close. We thought a number of times that maybe he was going to be able to force a playoff or be able to leapfrog Rory because of some of his errant tee shots. But Rory, I think, time and time again, the second shot, the approach shots that he was able to make, just he could save himself. It felt like hole after hole that he had a problem.
Yeah, the approach shot, I thought the was it 16 where he was off the green and he had that ridiculous putt where he sets himself up for par with like it looked 2 inches.
Yeah.
That he just had to tap that thing in.
Well, even 18 when he goes into the pine straw and then hooks it around the trees.
No, it was great. And obviously we talked about this, the trends. You hadn't seen a back-to-back winner in the Masters since, 2003, if I remember correctly. So Rory gets that done. What was that? 2002, okay. So, Rory gets it done, makes history with the way that he had performed here in this thing, but it was pretty impressive. And it's hard not to go back to Friday too, and just realize, man, the way he was tearing this course up and that ultimately making the difference. So cool to see from Rory, who has now established himself, I think now as one of the best golfers of his generation and maybe of all time. Yeah,
had a 6-shot lead after Friday, gave it all back, but was able to, find that composure enough to come back and win it again. And the first thing Rory said on the podium after the event was the challenge that is Masters golf. Take a listen to what he had to say about what it took to win it for the second year in a row.
I thought it was so difficult to win last year because of trying to win the Masters and the Grand Slam. And then this year I realized it's just really difficult to win the Masters. I tried to convince myself it was both, but just incredible. I obviously did the bulk of my work on Thursday and Friday. I don't think I would have believed anyone if they said to me, all you have to do is shoot even par for the weekend and you'll win.
And I know that one of the areas of consternation around Rory this week is the fact that he was practicing out there at Augusta for the last couple of weeks. Is that something that bothered you at all? Or, he's practicing within the framework of the rules.
Yeah, why did that bother you?
They said essentially he's got an unfair advantage because of the way he was practicing. But he's allowed to do it. So I don't know anyone,
I think there's a lot of people.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in the field that can do that, right? So
Correct.
I actually thought it was incredible. I mean, the lifestyles of the rich and famous. What was the story that he was able to drop the kid off at school, go play around, and then get back home in time for dinner
with Poppy?
That was the big takeaway from me. It was like, think about that lifestyle and how often you can do that.
Well, he's got another cool $4.5 million in the bank now after this one to continue to rack up those flyer miles.
But no, I didn't think that was an unfair advantage. I mean, a lot of these guys, I believe, can do that. So I don't think that was anything. If he was allowed to do it, he's allowed to do it.
You mentioned him also putting himself in contention among the greats all time, and he was asked specifically about his comments about wanting to be the best European golfer ever. Here he is.
Yeah, like today I tie Nick. So yeah, there's obviously going to be that conversation, and that debate is going to be had. But it's a cool conversation to be a part of. So, but again, like it took me 10 years to win at my 5th major, and then my 6th one's come pretty soon after it. So yeah, I'm not putting a number on it, but I certainly don't want to stop here.
Apologies on the tee up on that sound.
It's fine.
My bad. 6th major championship now, though, to his name. He mentioned now a tie for second with Nick Faldo for the most majors by a European player. Harry Vardon had 7 from 1896 to 1914, so approaching if he can tie the top spot. And maybe, JVT, when it rains, it pours. He is the second shot on the board for the PGA Championship, which will be the next major on the calendar.
I mean, he's consistently going to be up here. He's been in, obviously, fantastic form, getting this done, too. So the power rating on him is not going to change anytime soon. Same thing with Scotty, as we saw. I was texting with some friends over the weekend, too, about like, hey, man, this guy's like 6 strokes back and still floating around 14-1. But that's ultimately what happens. We should also know, too, how about Colin Morikawa and some of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Like the runs that they went on
What
to
a
get
comeback.
inside top 20, top 15, top 10s, whatever you were betting, whatever you had. But Morikawa, at one point, was he going for how many straight birdies on Sunday? It was ridiculous to watch him. He was going for 6 straight when he went to 17. Ultimately couldn't get there. I thought I had a little bit of hope down the stretch.
Cannot say the same for Sergio Garcia, RIP. That driver head did not seem ideal. I'm curious to see from the Augusta National perspective if he gets penalized in any way for that in terms of the tournament as a whole. That said, we can discuss a little bit more of this later on in the program. Still so much more to come. Do want to remind you before we hit the break at vsin.com with all of the NBA action that is upon us, the playoff field set, everything coming on in Major League Baseball as this season gets underway. All of our prop projection and special tools right now on the website are available for free, no subscription needed. Pro level tools, no cost, but it's just for a limited time, so get in there while you can. Head to vsin.com today to start using them. And we're going to talk a little NBA when we come back. You know who's going to have a lot of extra time to golf if they want to? Doc Rivers. We'll hit on that and more when we return here on Money Moves.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with vSIN Pro. vSIN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using vSIN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Baseball every day, NBA and NHL postseason coming soon. The Sharp Plays covering it all, and they've been winning for 15 straight years, all of it documented, logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency, rare in the industry. When the Sharp Plays moves, the sports books take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel, they find the value before the numbers shift. Respected, watch feared, start winning with them at sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, SiriusXM channel 158. We're live as always downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. And before we get into all of the NBA postseason action, the seeding set, and obviously a lot of numbers that accompany that, we did get some news yesterday in the association that the Milwaukee Bucks and Doc Rivers have parted ways after 3 years. And JVT, not particularly surprising, given all of the reports and the way that the back half of the season has transpired with Giannis.
Yeah, I'm tired of this.
I know you are.
Doc deserved it. That's fine. I mean, what I'm also tired about, too, is Giannis. Let's read this headline. Giannis Antetokounmpo vents about Bucks. Won't rule out return.
Do you want to hear the quote? I think our audience.
I've heard it, but go ahead.
Our audience should hear this because the post game for Giannis yesterday was not on video where this quote was, but it said he was asked specifically about whether or not that was his last game with Milwaukee. And he said, that's a very good question. I don't know. It's not up to me. We'll see. I feel like sometimes people just don't listen. They listen to the sources. The main source is me. It is what it is. So again, do not disturb on my phone. Go about my day, improve and come back better. So if everything goes well, hopefully the Bucks want me here. Why not? But if they don't, okay. Is there any way to interpret that other than Giannis continuing to try to be the good guy in this scenario by blatantly lying?
Yeah, I'm out. Just ask for the divorce, bro. Please, can we move on from this? But yes, Doc deserved to be fired. They weren't a good team. They had lost the locker room. I know a lot of people I saw complaints about hey, these guys that were unveiling what was happening in the locker room. That's not really great for team camaraderie. You're not good teammates. That's also on Doc. If you're a good enough coach, you can keep everything internally because they respect you. I would assume that this is the last time we've seen Doc Rivers as the head coach of a team, but crazier things have happened. But glad they'll move on. Let's see what they get something, and let's move on to the teams that are actually good at something.
Well, and I just hope also that we can move on between the Doc and Shams back and forth that we've had here, because obviously the report that Shams Charania puts out on ESPN.com, then you have Doc going on different platforms as well, saying, I think Shams just has a vendetta against me because of the All-Star game when I said he wasn't any good. And then Shams on McAfee again this morning says maybe if he and the team spent as much time dealing with all of their internal issues as they do worrying about correct reports, then they wouldn't be in this situation. So there's just a lot of drama going on in the NBA, but not drama as much on the court right now as we get set, as you said, to push things forward to the NBA postseason. Play-ins getting underway tomorrow with Heat, Hornets, Blazers, Suns. Do you want to start one side or the other, or early series takeaways? Where do you want to go here first?
Yeah, I think that when you look at the play-in games, the Eastern Conference play-in games have some fascination to them, and obviously Miami and Charlotte is going to be a ton of fun. Charlotte opens up 5 with a total of 227.5, despite the fact that Charlotte was 1-3 against the Miami Heat in the regular season. Their lone win came at the end of the year, in which they blew them out in a game in which Bam Adebayo didn't play. So. Yeah, I went back. I was rewatching some of their games. I went back and watched their game from early in March, where Bam Adebayo was out there, and the Hornets ended up losing 128-120 at home. And I think there's some things that are going to bother Charlotte here. I'm a little nervous for them in this matchup, because I do think when we get to the postseason, we could talk a lot about power ratings and numbers, and getting the best of the numbers still will matter. But this is such a matchups and styles make fights type of playoffs. And this is really going to matter, the X's and O's and the intricacies of how these teams are going to play each other. And one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting is the duo of Bam Adebayo and Kelly Ware, and how effective they're going to be here against Charlotte. Ware can stretch the floor out for him. Bam, we know, is a good interior presence. And the game that I'm referring to, not the one that the Hornets lost, but there's the one the Hornets won, but the one that they lost in early March, Moussa Diabate only had 6 points, only took about 6 shots from the field. Adebayo was really good against him defensively. Tyler Hero gave him really big problems. And Ware really helped spread the floor for Miami. And you do wonder if having those two out there at the same time is going to be a small problem for Charlotte when it comes to defending what Miami wants to do. And on the flip side, we know this about Charlotte, they are a team that loves to shoot those 3-point shots. They are in the mid-range, if we're talking about average to below average in terms of frequency of shots at the rim, frequency of shots from mid-range, but they take a ton of threes, nearly 50% of them from beyond the arc. They're a very efficient shooting team. But Stormy, in a one-off where everything is on the line, you have one cold night and you're done. Yeah. And you're screwed, and you don't know if you're going to, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. So I think 5.5 is the right number. I've kind of come off of, hey, you know what? I'm going to lay 5 here with Charlotte only because of watching this a little bit more. I believe that they will win. Hopefully, I'm kind of putting that out there. But this seems to be accurately priced. And I'll be very curious to see what the market does here, because narratively, and I told this to Dustin yesterday, because I think Dustin, our colleague Dustin Swedelson, hosted Cashing Out, he likes Miami here. And it's easy to say, yeah, man, Eric Spoelstra's been in these games a ton, and he knows how to coach them up, and he knows different lineups and the way that he can structure his defense, and he's played in these one-off games 1,000 times over, and to just give the wily veteran coach 5.5 points in a one-off game against a team that has not been here before, that makes a ton of sense if you wanted to go in that direction.
And you mentioned it earlier, though, just the unfortunate part of this for Charlotte, after how bright this season really has been for them in so many areas, to have be in a position now where sitting in the 9, they're a one and done when they had opportunity at one point even to potentially creep up into the 6, right? And be in the playoff field just when all was said and done. Instead, now you get the loser of the Orlando 76ers game and have to win 2 in a row in order to get into the field. So we'll see how that shakes out.
And I want to add to that, to your point, and this is like, again, this is like a narrative thing, but it matters. We saw how, we'll say, like, wet behind the ears this team was in a lot of these high-leverage games. How many times we mentioned it down the stretch where you had to beat Philly on a Saturday. You couldn't do it. That next day you had to play Boston. You probably should have gotten that victory, even though it was a bad spot. You couldn't do it. You lost to this Heat team, the game that I'm mentioning, 128-120 in a game that you needed. You couldn't do it. So that's also, there's not like a ton of data around it. You know, I can point to, hey, since the beginning of the year, the Charlotte Hornets, they're a team that is the second best team in non-garbage time net rating. You know what they're almost last in, though, is win differential. They should have more wins over the course of this second half, only because they have not performed at those games. So that gives you a little bit of pause. At some point, experience does matter. And the one guy with some sort of experience, LaMelo Ball, has played in a play-in game. I believe Miles Bridges has too. They have not played in the playoffs, though. And the lone time that they were there, they got absolutely smoked in the play-in.
The other playing game in the Eastern Conference, though, as we mentioned, the 76ers laying 1.5 against the Magic, total 220.5. The Eastern Conference playoff matchups that we do have set, the Cavs around a $9 favorite against the Raptors in the 4-5. Is that right? That's that pricey?
No, so that opened up at $9, and then we got down to -600. So,
it's creeped down.
DraftKings opened that up, and then yes, there was a little bit of play there on the other side.
Similarly, in Knicks Hawks, we've seen this come down a little bit. The Knicks were -360, currently -290 series favorites against Atlanta. And I did want your opinion on this. The Hawks went into yesterday a 5 seed. If they beat the Heat, they would have still been the 5 seed and played Cleveland. They rest everybody. They lose 143-117 and let fate, a.k.a. Joe Mazzulla, step in and intervene to decide what they were going to be and what their seeding was going to be. So they end up the 6 in the 3-6 and have to face the New York Knicks now, or choose the New York Knicks now.
So, I mean, New York's probably taking that a little personally.
Sure.
I believe that is a matchup, or at least Atlanta believes that's a matchup that they can win. So I texted the Harwood Handicappers group chat, and it's a very pro Hawks group chat for the most part. Well, a lot of us over the last few years have lost some money on the Atlanta Hawks in many different ways, betting them to win the division, going over win totals, things like that. And so now we get the best version of Atlanta finally. And I just throw it out there. I was wondering, like, hey, do you like the Hawks in this match? Nope, nothing. Not at all. Hawk blocked, if you will, by the Harwood Handicappers. And I would tend to agree. Now, I do think that this could be a longer series. I do like what the Hawks bring to the table from that standpoint. And this is, one of my favorite things about series betting is the different ways you could do it. But looking at this to go over 5.5 games, I thought was a fair ask. It's priced over 5.5 at -150 at DraftKings. So shop around, and we'll see if maybe this gets bet down a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable here. But I think the Knicks should win. They have better shot creation, the higher upside on offense, and that, I think, is ultimately going to limit Atlanta in a series like this. But I think that they're good enough, Atlanta, defensively, to at least keep themselves in this and push this to about 6 games or so. So I wouldn't be surprised if we go over 5.5. -150 was a little expensive for me, though, so I want to see if I can find something cheaper or get this thing, or get the market to bet this down. We'll see if that happens. But do think the Hawks can be competitive, and I thought this was a Knicks in 6 type game.
Okay.
Or series.
They're getting 4.5 at MSG in game 1 coming up on Saturday, total 216.5 in that one. The Knicks were 2-1 against the Hawks this season, albeit the losses still close ones, and have been one of the hotter teams down the stretch in the NBA. I'm sure we can get the thought process on that a little bit more when Mitch Lawrence joins the program coming up next. What else are you excited to ask him about? Because I know we've got plenty of NBA coming up on the program.
Well, we'll have a little bit more on this, I guess, and call me crazy, but there's a couple of things. But first off, look, Orlando's finally healthy, and they go on this mini little winning streak heading into the play-in. However, they played absolutely nobody, and that includes the Pistons teams that was resting guys. The Bulls were among them, the Pelicans. So how much do we really believe in this team? Franz Wagner's back, Paolo Banchero, like the team is healthy. But Zach, to invoke Harwood Handicappers and check it out wherever you get your podcast, he texted us in the group chat about, like, hey, there might, like, that's kind of a big number for a team in Orlando that we believed in before the season started. And I responded with, I never really bought into Orlando. And yet here they are in relatively good form, although it was a big failure for them over the weekend to lose to Boston in a game that meant nothing for the Celtics.
Okay. You hear that music. That means we got to step aside. But as you said, let's push it forward. Mitch Lawrence, host starting lineup on SiriusXM NBA Radio, is going to join us coming up after this, get his thoughts on the play-in, some of these early round matchups, and who in his mind and forecast can go on to win it all. We'll be right back.
watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, the seeding is set in the NBA postseason as we welcome you back here to Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Excited to continue to break down the field as we have Mitch Lawrence join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, host of the starting lineup over on SiriusXM NBA Radio. Can also catch him on Mad Dog Sports Radio. And I know there are a lot of different ways that we can get into this, Mitch, but something we were talking about in the last segment I'd like to carry over with you. Your thoughts on a couple of the late results we had yesterday where Atlanta essentially chooses that they're going to go on and face the New York Knicks. And I think San Antonio, to an extent as well, electing to sit Victor Wembanyama and instead of trying to push Denver to the 4 seed. What do you make of some of those teams' decisions?
Well, as Chuck Daly used to say years ago, careful what you wish for, right? I mean, Atlanta, everybody's thinking Atlanta could beat the Knicks, and I think they're going to give them a series. I heard earlier in your last segment where Jonathan was talking about it'll probably go 6. I agree. I mean, Atlanta had a great stretch run. There's no doubt about it. They've won 19 out of their last 24 games. They've got some great young perimeter athletes and players. But the Knicks are the better team, and the Knicks have size that present real size problems. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, if there's a problem, if he doesn't go for 28 to 32 points a game in this series, they have problems with bigs. Mitchell Robinson should make an impact. I think the Knicks, the weight of the whole Knick history is on these Knicks shoulders because what they do last year after they went to the conference finals, they fired Tom Thibodeau. So now the pressure's on Mike Brown and all of his players to at least get back to a conference finals, if not beyond. So I think the Knicks will win the series, but there'll be some down moments, and there'll be some good moments for the Hawks. It's a young, exciting team, but I think, like you said, when they decided, we'd rather be the 6th to face the Knicks, you got to be careful there because that could present some real problems for the Hawks. They are going against an experienced team, and that's one thing that you can't replicate if you're a young team coming into the playoffs.
Well, speaking of young teams, what'd you make of how San Antonio handled it yesterday? Because they have set themselves up with a very difficult path. Didn't play particularly well against the Nuggets squad that was willing to give that game away.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, they're gonna have to go through a situation with Denver and Oklahoma City just to get to a finals. The thing about the Spurs is, let's not forget, I think this is the first time they had 5 or 6 straight lottery finishes. It's the first playoff run in the Wembanyama era. So we're all excited to see how he does in terms of that. But this is a very arduous playoff road, especially, guys, when you compare it to Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City is going to get an 8th seeded team from the West who they'll probably, they're, again, the number 1 overall seed for the 2nd year in a row. They are the class of the league. I don't think they get enough credit for that, because everybody's talking about the Spurs and the upstart, Victor's, his team. But Oklahoma City's faced with that. And then in the second round, they're going to get, obviously, I think it's going to be a Rocket team because the Lakers are too depleted to win that first round series. So their road is going to be a lot easier than San Antonio's. They'll either have to play San Antonio, it looks like, or a Denver to get to a finals. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but 2 years in a row, number 1 overall seed. If they win the title, it'll be the first time a team won the regular season 2 years in a row, number 1 overall seed, and went back-to-back since the 96-97 Bulls.
Wow.
Heat didn't do it with LeBron. Warriors didn't do it with KD and Steph. This, to me, is going to be a huge impetus. This is going to add extra fire for Oklahoma City because when you've won a title, you're looking to repeat. Now you're thinking about repeating, but you're also thinking about how can we make some history? How can we have a legacy here where we separate ourselves away from other teams that have won back-to-back? It's hard enough winning back-to-back. You do it after winning, 68, 64 games in regular seasons. That would be a hell of an accomplishment for Mark Daniels, Sam Presti, and all those guys. So we'll see how they do. I like them to repeat this year. I think they're the class of the league, but we're going to start finding out how things unravel in the next couple of weeks.
And to that end, OKC minus 160 favorites to win the Western Conference, plus 110 right now to win it all when all is said and done. Mitch Lawrence of NBA Radio joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. You did bring up the Lakers, and we got the news that Luka Doncic is expected to be back in the States on Tuesday after getting some treatment over there in Spain with his hamstring. You kind of said it feels like they're toast, but how many games ultimately do you feel like that first-round series is going to go for them?
Well, can they win a game? Probably. Are they going to win 2? I don't know. I mean, listen, if you're the Rockets, you got to make short order of this team because you don't want to see, I don't know if Luka can come back at the end of the first round. They're talking about maybe, right? That's the report. The longer the series goes on, you don't want to mess around with that. And Houston has, listen, Kevin Durant, I know they're challenged in terms of their lack of a point guard, in terms of their defense at times, but that team should give the Lakers all kinds of problems. I'm not saying they should sweep, but I'd be surprised if it went more than, 5 games. I think Houston has to take care of business. They know that. Move on to the next round and prepare for, a big-time KD, back against the Thunder, his old team. That'd be interesting. But, yeah, they need to take care of business. And, it's amazing, guys. 41-year-old LeBron James is the one left standing for the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Of all the people,
right.
who are ready to roll in the playoffs. It's not Luka. It's not Austin Reeves. It's LeBron. I just don't think he has enough around him.
Yeah, it'd be a good story. I kind of hope it would happen, but I don't think it will. Mitch, we've talked about a couple of young teams here in this postseason. Let's talk about one that this show is a very big fan of, the Charlotte Hornets in this play-in against Miami. This is the play-in game I am the most excited for. Charlotte's a 5.5-point favorite. Totals are 228, but I keep saying this Hornets team dropped a lot of high-leverage games down the stretch. They showed their youth. What do you make of them in this one-off against the wily vet Eric Spoelstra?
Well, Miami has been, to me, a big-time disappointment. I mean, the highlight of the year was Bam Adebayo going for 83 points, but they find themselves back in a play-in game, which you always expect more from Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. But talent-wise, they're still looking to get Giannis Antetokounmpo wherever they can get to Miami somehow, some way. They haven't had that player since a Dwayne Wade to LeBron James. In this game, though, I could see them going in and at least covering, if not emerging victorious, because they do have some guys with experience like Bam Adebayo, and I think that's going to, count for something. Look, Charlotte's had a tremendous year. I know that they've had some regression here in the last few weeks, and you worry about that. They've got a lot of young, talented players. Con Knipple, everybody wants to be the rookie of the year. I think it's Cooper Flagg myself, but they've got some real good young talent. LaMelo Ball seems to be interested in winning more than just being a showman. And, a lot of people, talk about this team, and they got to realize without Brandon Miller, they were like 3-14 or something crazy. So they need him. They got some good young pieces. Can they win a one-game series? Obviously, they can. They're at home. But I'm not going to put anything past Miami in this situation. So we'll see what happens. But I like the Heat's chances a lot, even though they're on the road and even though they've been a disaster on the defensive end this year.
Because you bring up the Rookie of the Year race, obviously that's been a hot topic of conversation the last week and a half. Why are you adamant that Flagg is the guy?
Well, Khan's got better players around him. Now, they haven't been winning, but he has more veteran-type players. I mentioned a couple. I mentioned, there's Bridges, too. Cooper Flagg's all you got in Dallas right now. And he put up for a teenager, right? I mean, what is he, like 3 years younger than Landenberg from Michigan? It's like the guy's a teenager still. And so I take that into consideration, the big-time scoring. He does a lot of other things great. I know his team is terrible. The Mavericks are awful. But I still can't get by the fact that this guy showed himself to be, to me, the best rookie we've seen in a long time, the best teenager. He has the records to prove it now, matching LeBron in a lot of these scoring things. So I think it'll be close. I think there's a lot of sentiment for Khan. But I think you got to realize he's to me, he's the third or fourth option on that Charlotte team. Whereas Cooper Flagg is all you got. It's all you got. So we'll see how he fares. Hopefully the new regime in Dallas, in terms of they're going to have a new front office, they got to get him some help. And they got to get him a lot of help so that the Mavericks can get back here to competing.
Mitch, last 45 seconds or so with you here. We're getting some ballots out. People are announcing who they voted for. Who would be your coach of the year at the end of the year? I think it's one of the more fascinating awards races.
It really is. I think, everybody, although he doesn't want it, Joe Mazzulla might get it. Guys, J.B. Bickerstaff took Detroit here from 6th seed last year to the 60-win team this year, first year, and 18 games without Cade Cunningham, who's clearly his best player. The problem with Detroit is who's their second best player. Do they have a second best player to match with other teams? So you're going to tell me that now J.B. Bickerstaff, after a 60-win season for the Pistons, isn't going to get any kind of award for his work over the last 2 years? That would be a shame to me. And I know Mitch Johnson in San Antonio's had a tremendous year. J.J. Redick, you can talk about. I think J.B. Bickerstaff needs to be recognized for the season he's had. And by the way, if Joe Mazzulla doesn't want the award, okay, Joe, we won't give it to you. We'll give it to J.B.
Mitch, you're awesome. We'll be right back here on Money Moves.
Put on your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call Me Crazy, but...
Okay, so a couple things as we jump in here. Stormy Buonantony, JVT, back with you here on Money Moves. Call me crazy, but starting in the NBA, because I think in general there's been a lot of conversation this year about the minimum games rule. And generally speaking, it might not be popular opinion, but I am for it to an extent. Maybe it does need to get tweaked the way that Victor Wembanyama has talked about it this past week, which, by the way, didn't know the witchcraft and wizardry that man had going on in his brain about mathematics. Yet.
Oh, he's so annoying, dude. We get it. You're smart. You're well-read. You're French. Enough. You're 7'2". You make millions of dollars. Come on now.
Well, I think, but all that to say, I think that the intent behind the rule is good, right? That with these players making as much money as they do and the load management problem that there is in the association, there should be a threshold of some sort to hold players accountable that the league and fans are getting what they pay for to an extent. That said, call me crazy, but if you lead the league in points, you should probably be eligible for postseason awards. I think it is fascinating that Luka Doncic, not that he's going to win MVP, but when it comes to all NBA and other things, that you lead the league in points per game and total points in the association, despite not having met this 65-game threshold, and you're not going to be in the history books for anything. That's wild to me.
Oh, remember, he still has that hearing that's going to happen this week.
He has appealed it,
yeah,
yes.
So you might be able to get in there, but I would say that the problem against you here is that, and you alluded to it, the rule's actually kind of working. A lot of guys played a lot of games this year, and a lot of dudes were pushing for 65 games with their availability, maybe even to the detriment of their own health. So I would say that while I understand the thought, and maybe we will see if he gets the appeal that goes his way, the rule is working, and that's the unfortunate part about this for the most part that people want to complain about. Nobody's ever happy. They want the stars to play. You get a rule in place that makes them play. Now everybody's complaining that the 65 games isn't enough. But I would say,
if that isn't America in 2026
correct.
In a nutshell.
But I would say, I think one of the fair criticisms and adjustments, I think we brought this up on the air before, ballpark it a game or two. But again, to qualify to be a league leader, you have to play in about 62 games. But the minimum for the awards is 65. Maybe they should mirror one another and you could bump it down to 62. But again, you have to collectively bargain it. The players agreed to this because it's part of the CBA.
I thought that what Wemby brought up about the minutes percentage was interesting too. But okay, go ahead. What's first for you?
Okay, let's do it. We're going to go with the Orlando Magic. Call me crazy. They're not fixed. They go in and they into the play-in. They have a really good stretch. They win about 5 straight, but they lose a really big game against the Boston Celtics to end the regular season. I think a lot of people were really hoping that this team would be somewhat of an echo of the team that they thought they were going to be when they traded all those picks for Desmond Bane. But it goes back to what I asked about this team when the season started, and I still have those questions now. Yes, when you have your big three out there, you're a relatively competent team. On the floor with Wagner, Banchero, and Bane, you outscore opponents by about 4 points every 100 possessions. You're in the 82nd percentile in defensive rating. However, you're very average in your half-court offense, and I just don't trust them on that end. And Stormy, I'm sorry, but you look at the teams that they beat down the stretch, I don't really buy that you're looking at wins over Dallas, New Orleans, Detroit with nobody playing, Minnesota with nobody playing, in Chicago as these points of evidence that this team has turned things around. I think maybe Orlando has some intriguing upside on defense, and maybe they're going to make some of these teams grind through a couple of these games. We'll see what happens in this play-in game, against the Philadelphia 76ers. But either way, I think big picture, if they even make it to the first round, it will be a short-lived postseason berth for the Orlando Magic.
I don't think you're crazy. Like you said, the 1.5-point spread against the 76ers in that play in total 220.5, but I just can't. Maybe it's recency bias. I can't get it out of my head that you have all three of those guys going yesterday, and you still can't beat the Boston Celtics. I joked to you in the commercial break after we left last segment with Mitch Lawrence of SiriusXM NBA Radio talking about the Coach of the Year stuff with Missoula. I feel like he could have gotten the three of us to be productive on the court with what he was able to do with that lineup yesterday.
I don't mean to make faces. Stormy's powering through it. I just got a text from Tim Murray. Big move to under 1.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Now minus 150 plus 115.
Which leads us to, ladies and gentlemen, call me crazy, but why is Ty Simpson going to the draft? I do not want this poor kid to be the next Will Levis out there. We already know Fernando Mendoza isn't going. He wants to be at home, and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick to the Las Vegas Raiders. And yet, Ty Simpson, there's been all of this talk about what a hot potential player he could be, whether it's to Arizona, whether it's to... I didn't say it. However, I don't see it. And we've been talking since before this market was even available that if they gave us a 1.5, the under was the play, because it doesn't make any sense for NFL teams, for as much as they want good quarterback play, to reach in the first round when you don't have to.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I'm with you. I mean, I bet under every year. I guess I'll do it again this year, although it got bet under. We'll see where it eventually goes. Again, so Tim Murray texts us, over minus 150 now, under plus 115. That over was over $2.
I was going to say, you were getting plus 155 when we talked about it last week.
And I was holding out because I figured it would get bet over, but ultimately I guess I'm wrong. We'll see where this goes. But still, the point here is I would agree with you. I don't see it. I don't think Ty Simpson's going to be a first-round selection. I think
he's going to be on camera all day.
Well, and I think the biggest thing here is what you've talked about, but also what we're looking at in the big picture of you can add assets at important positions in the first round if you're a team. You also have a quarterback draft next year that not only looks like it's good with high-end talent, but it's also just rife with quarterbacks in general. Like, you're going to have many bites at the apple if you're some of these teams that need a quarterback. So I just don't think you would want to use a first-round pick, especially on the back end. Last mock draft I saw was the Cardinals trading back into the first round for Ty Simpson at 31. Why? Just sit back and wait. If he gets to you two, then he gets to you, in the second round, then he gets to you there. Or just wait until next year and just see what you got this year. But I think that you're stockpiling at different positions before you get to 2027.
Next one for you.
Okay, call me crazy as we go to Major League Baseball. But the Pirates are actually the best team in the NL Central. Not some plucky underdog, not some team that maybe can make a push for third here. This has been a terrible start to the season for some of the teams that we considered contenders in the division. The Milwaukee Brewers can't win a game to save their lives. They've lost 5 straight. The Cubs are 7-8. And here we are, little old Pirates, 9-6. They've outscored their opponents by a grand total of 8 runs. Might be the third best run differential in the Central. That doesn't matter, though. They're a pretty solid lineup. Skeens is going to turn things around today. We'll talk about that in the best bets. But they are no underdog. They are not any of that. They are the best team in the NL Central. Call me crazy.
Brewers are your favorite at 2-1, Cubs plus 225, Pirates plus 280. So, I mean, from an odds perspective, doesn't sound like you're too far off given the condensed numbers that are available right now. Paul Skeens, by the way, going today, Pirates big home favorites against the Washington Nationals. So, no, I would not say you are crazy. Call me crazy, but airport bathroom doors should open out. Like, I have a lot of strong airport opinions, but having most recently come off of a road trip, I just got back from Denver on Sunday, and the airports that have the doors that open in and or don't have enough room.
To the bathroom or to the stall?
To the stall. Okay. And the door either opens
too close to the toilet?
And or you can't get your bag in to fit, period. Yes, like, this is an airport. You know people have luggage. Why do you build your infrastructure this way? It doesn't make sense. I can't be crazy. There's no way I can be crazy.
I would agree with you. I had I mean, we don't have to give too much information, but many, many years ago, we had to take a trip. VSiN did. It was myself and Gil Alexander and some VSiN executives to New Jersey for something. And I had a rumbly tummy in the New Jersey airport. The other thing that I would add on to this, toilets made out of steel. No shot.
Oh, no.
No, you can't do that. Can't do that. And the door opened in, and it was very small. Just you can't do those things.
Brutal. Also, no carpet at airports during the walkways. What are we doing? Got anything else to close us out?
I do. I actually have a betting one that I need your thoughts on here. So this is one for you. Call me crazy.
Start with me.
But Nikita Kucherov is actually the bet for the Hart Trophy. So I bring this up because ESPN posted an NHL Awards Watch article today. And as part of it, and Greg Wyshynski put this together, for the Hart Trophy, as he notes, with the votes that they got, Kucherov actually earned roughly 50% of the first place votes in the final Awards Watch tally to lead the race in the final days. So as you look at it, Kucherov, 128 points, 74 games, lead the NHL, 1.73 points per game average. And yet, here he is. He's about 6-1 to win this thing. I acquiesce to you, but this is the closest to a straw poll type of thing we're going to get. Could this be accurate? Because if it is, the market is nowhere near priced the way that this little mini straw poll, we'll call it, was actually was put together.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this from Greg yet, but McKinnon -150, Connor McDavid, your second shot on the board. So Kucherov 6-1. I mean, he's been in the top 2, top 3 conversation the entirety of the year. And if you're looking at value from the Tampa Bay Lightning's perspective, all the injuries that they've dealt with, that does make sense to me. I wouldn't mind throwing a flyer on it, but I think truly, if you had a 3-sided coin, you could flip it for who's going to win this thing.
It's impossible.
McDavid, you could say the same thing, though, about Leon Draisaitl being unavailable and what he's done, although they've fallen these last couple of games, and now with their Pacific Division standings in the balance, I don't know what that's necessarily going to look like. It's been McKinnon's to lose in my eyes. And maybe voters feel a certain type of way because he's probably going to win the Rocket Richard for most goals in the season. He has a 1-game advantage over Cole Caulfield there.
And correct me if I'm wrong here. I know you got to read something really quickly, but was Kucherov the one that Mike said media doesn't like him, correct?
Correct,
okay.
Yes. Because, I mean, his production had fallen off the last couple of weeks. Reminder, though, you mentioned it. You got the group chat, you got the opinions. You can put your money where your mouth is right now. Cut, the social betting platform that lets you bet directly against your friends and other users on sports, politics, pop culture, even personal bets as well. Each bet fully customizable and pre-funded as well. Plus, you're getting cash back on every bet you make. Use the promo code VSiN to get a 20% deposit bonus your first deposit. Go to KUTT.com today.